So, Jarvis, you know what time it is. It is mock draft season
Yes, it is.
775.0.
Right. 1,000.
Yes, it's just the reality of where we are. So, we have a little fun on this show with mock drafts, and we'll be bringing you guys a couple interesting mock drafts in the coming weeks. Of course, we'll mock draft the Falcons rounds 1 all the way through round 7, but we're also going to give you guys a little treat of some local talent and kind of talking about where they might land in this upcoming draft. But as far as today goes, we're taking a look at a friend of the show, a colleague of ours, and his mock draft. So his most recent one, that is. So Josh Kendall, who's over with The Athletic, does some excellent work in covering the Falcons, has released a 7-round mock draft recently. And we're just going to talk about the first round because I thought that was all the reaction that you might want and need to have this morning. Because interestingly enough, now he agrees with one scenario that we even spoke about on this show yesterday, which is the possibility of the Falcons trading back from that 8th position. However, where we disagree is A, how far they should trade back, or at least that's my opinion. We'll see what you say. And B, who they should get once they trade back. So let me set the scene for you. Josh is saying that he believes the Falcons should trade back to around that 17th overall pick, which would be a trade with my beloved Steelers, which I wouldn't be mad about that part. And then drafting Bijan Robinson out of Texas. Bijan Robinson is a running back. Now, the other piece of what Kendall said was the trade with the Steelers would also have the Falcons acquiring the 32nd overall pick. And get this, he would say it would be homegrown, local Georgia tight end Darnell Washington. Jarvis, like I said, have no issues with the trade back. Kind of am actually warming up to that as being maybe my favorite scenario of what the Falcons do in the upcoming draft in the first round. However, Jarvis,
Come on.
a running back at 17,
No.
trading back to 17,
Dude.
and taking Darnell Washington, trading back in with the 32nd pick.
No.
How?
No, T. Like, you know who I blame on this? You know who I blame on this Bijan Robinson bull crap? I blame Aaron freaking Freeman. Yes, I'm calling him out. Locked on Falcons. We love you. I love you, Aaron. That's my dog. That's the homie. We do the Locked On Falcons postcast during the season. Make sure y'all check that out. It's always a treat and a joy to wobble in the losses and some wins, you know, with this Atlanta Falcons team. But I blame Aaron Freeman. He started this Bijan Robinson stuff, and now everybody running with it. And I'm just sitting up here like, man, come on. Like, but all jokes aside, though, T. Like, here's the thing. Like, I like smart GMs. Smart GMs, they find value at that position. I don't mind finding value at the position. The Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, the Saquon Barkley's of the world, yeah, those the guys are cool in the first 4 years. But then when you started to come around, that 5th-year option, and then you got to sit down there and pay those guys, and then you look at Zeke, got fat and happy in Dallas, and then you got Saquon Barkley, who had a couple injuries, and you don't know whether or not he franchise tag and going through all this stuff. I don't want to go through all that because here's why. You have a guy in Tyler Algier, T, that's more than capable. He was a 1,000-yard runner last year. Yeah, it's a hot. And for him to come in and be able to be a guy that can pass block for you as well, because, you know, we don't see rookie running backs doing that. That's why a lot of them don't get into the game like they do. So I love the position, right? That 17th, you know, a little bit over, you know, in the second half of the first round. I love that because guess what? You can get a Keon White, you can get an Osiris Torrance, who we've talked about on this show. Those guys are going to be right there waiting for you. And then you pick up an extra second round pick, right? And at 32, and you get a Darnell Washington, like, I don't. That's not like I'm all hashtag Tenitra mantra. To me, Tenitra mantra. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's follow that path.
Two offensive players not named somebody in the trenches.
Yeah, like I'm like, come on.
Now, honestly, if that 17th was an O lineman, I probably I'd rock with it. And that 32nd,
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Those really are the two that I'm perfectly okay, or that's the one position that I'm perfectly okay with. If you go out and there's an incredible left guard that's available. That's perfectly okay. But
Right.
I totally agree with you. And even thinking about my Steelers, for example, a couple years ago, we got Najee Harris at 24. And Najee Harris
Yeah.
is an absolute beast. So
Absolutely.
you really never have to trade up, or excuse me, you never these days have to go anywhere but the late first round. And that's the late first round to get like the super game changer, in my opinion.
You get the best running back in the draft because Najee
Yes,
Harris was hands down the best running back in that
and we
draft. Yeah.
got him at 24, and
Right.
we all good. So and for me, I'm going to take just a little bit of I guess, a slightly different pathway or a slightly different direction in terms of where I want the trade back to go. I personally don't want it to go past 15. I really
Okay.
don't, because I
Okay.
just think that I think it's going to be one of those run situations where the first run I think will be on QBs, and then I do think the
Absolutely.
next run is going to be on edge. And so I don't know if who you want will actually be there around 17. I'm kind of thinking, and I sat at 14 and 15. I've sat there for forever, really 14. That's kind of as far as I want the Falcons to kind of trade back, if at all possible. I
Right.
think that's part one. And part two goes back to what you said, in agreement. Tyler Algier, it has shown the goods. I mean, he did what you want him to do, which is get progressively better throughout the season. That also is going to bode well for Cordell Patterson, because he's not going to have to do all that heavy
You don't have
lifting
to
like
carry the load. Exactly. Yeah.
last season. I think that's good. And also, Jarvis, you look at a key fact that you said, which you cannot say, you can say actually about the majority of running backs in the league. After about 3, maybe 4 seasons, especially if they get through the entirety of their first 3 or 4 seasons, they're not even good for much of anything. I mean, literally. So why would you invest that much capital in a running back when, hey, I mean, Caleb Huntley is kind of serviceable there,
Yeah.
and if you needed Avery Williams, you have Avery Williams, and you also still have third and fourth and even fifth round picks to choose from. And then going back to the Darnell Washington option, I mean, you have Kyle Pitts, and you just went out there and got Jonnu Smith. I think
You might be okay at tight end. Yeah.
room
Yeah. Might be
is
fine.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
You
solid
okay.
enough that if you wanted to get a tight end maybe in the third or fourth round, or I mean, I don't know, maybe trade back up into the second round to get a tight end, maybe I'd be okay with that. But I mean, I do think you're okay, even with having a Parker Hesse still out there. That one was just interesting to me. So when I saw that, I said, normally we definitely rock with Josh Kendall's insight, because he really does think outside of the box, and he kind of
Indeed.
thinks with layers. But in this case, I was thinking, I'm not quite sure that's the way to kind of rock and roll, especially with everything that the Falcons have done, even in free agency, and can still do. You never know who they may pick up at running back in free agency. And if you want to just still keep someone for the adding to the tight end room, you could certainly do that. And speaking of that, Jarvis, I think that at the end of the day, free agency has shown itself to be nothing but solid for the Falcons. I
Yes.
think the term that we kind of have used, and I say it, they've been conservative. They made it rain, but they made it rain in a very conservative way. So I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
something I would continue to look to see them do. And again, if they had to go that route with going and getting somebody to add to the running back room or the tight end room, sure do hope you go back to free agency or deep in the draft. But please and thank you, just listen to the ATL day ones. We know what we're talking about when we say go defense or
Yes.
just
Yes.
trenches, period.
Please. Please. Don't play with my emotions like that, T. Because I don't know what I would do if the Falcons were to draft Bijan Robinson, especially if they do it at 8. Like
Yeah.
I've always,
Or
I've
even
al-
17, I would be
it's
pleased.
17. I'll probably lose my mind. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what is like? Y'all don't understand. Listen to us. We telling you, we giving you the goods each and every day. Like, come on now. Like, we know
And
what we're
you've
talking
shown it.
about.
Right. And the Falcons, and I'm confident, however, that the Falcons will do the right thing, because free agency has shown them to do the right thing. And even
Yes.
if you look back at last
Yeah.
year's draft, it was a draft to be pleased about. Yes, we have not maybe seen what we want to see, a little bit more maybe out of Arnold Ebiketie or
Yeah. For
D'Angelo
sure.
Malone and Troy Anderson, for example. But the potential's there. We saw shades of what they could be. So I think, again, not just what they've done in free agency this offseason, but even what they did last year in the draft. And let's be real, what Fontenot and Smith did even offseason before last season, when they had absolutely nothing to work with. But when we talk about having something to work with, that would be Built Bar, because they
Yes.
give you so many choices. I thought this was so cool. I got a note from them yesterday, Jarvis, about some new flavors and some new, like, interesting little combinations that they have that I wanted to share. So you guys know we tell you all the time we are about the healthy snacks around here because we are
Yes.
about getting our bodies right, especially as we go to summer, but not just to be fine, but also to be fine as far as being fit. So don't
Yes.
forget, you too can get on the Built Bar train, and they have a couple new flavors. One of their puff flavors is brown batter and churro, but also they are going back to some of their oldies but goodies. When you think about the Snickerdoodle puff, the Crave Built Bar, the Mint Brownie Puff, and the Grasshopper Cookie, you can
Mint
have it
brownie.
all and even still get 15 grams rather of protein, only 130 calories, and 4 grams of sugar. So if you want that, go to built.com because hey, the weather's kind of dreary. So I know you probably don't want to go out and buy one. But if you're somebody like me who goes out rain, snow, sleet, or hail, then you can catch Sam's Club for built bars in like a 13 box stack, buying in bulk, or you can get 4 bars at your local Walmart. So don't forget, if you want a healthy snack that makes you happy, that it makes you whole, because the Hawks are going to win tonight, and that's going to make you want to celebrate. Go out and get yourself a
Hopefully.
Built Bar.